everyone, this is Veronica with Sew It Seams. Welcome back to my studio. Today I'm going to do part 2 of showing you my studio renovation. I realized though that the second week of working in my studio, I actually did not take any videos. I did take some photos, and so I will show you some photos of what I was doing during that week. Most of the steps were kind of long and laborious, and there wasn't really much to show as I was doing things. And at other times I got so involved that I completely forgot to do any recording. Here we are at the beginning showing where we started with the garage being completely full of stuff. Then I went through the process of cleaning that out, getting things somewhat organized into groupings, and then being able to completely sweep out the floors, wipe down all the walls and the shelving that was already there to get this room prepared for working in there. The first step was the insulation, and here are some photos of the insulation in different areas. These are the walls that are on either side of the garage door. Then also getting up onto a ladder to get the insulation into the ceiling. This one was a lot of work. It was up and down the ladder, and we don't have the most comfortable ladder. The rungs are round. So they kind of dug into my feet after a while, but was able to get all the insulation up there, even though it was hot and sweaty. I think I got it all done in one day. I also put insulation on the door panels for the garage door. It's an old wooden door, so this helps to prevent some of the cold from seeping in. Once the insulation was up, I was able to cover the ceiling with fabric, and I love being able to have done that. It was a long day, and I was hot and sweaty, so I relaxed with a face mask, clean hair, and reading some books. The next day, my husband helped me try to visualize fabric for the sides of the garage door. And as ever, he's so very helpful in letting me see just how that fabric's going to work. Quite the looker. The fabric is all up, and I'm really happy with how it looks. The next step was painting. I needed to paint all of the walls. I debated back and forth, but it really needed a fresh coat. And online, I found someone that was selling a remnant of carpet and carpet pad that fit the space perfectly. And now everything started being put into place. And here we have the wall that is full of my quilts that someone made for me. These are quilts from different quilters on my online quilting site. That one right in the center is from my grandmother. And we start to swing around so you can see how it's set up. That back wall is filled with, on the shelves are filled with the bins of fabric. The white ones are mostly quilting fabric, and then we've got patterns and my embroidery machine. Then we swing around, we see the door that leads into my husband's office and to the rest of the house. And we keep moving to the left, and here are some other shelving, and it's not full yet, but I've started putting things in there. We've got my yarn and just some other things. And it was still summer, so my garage door was open, and I could enjoy watching and looking outside while I worked at my table. And here is a view of it from the driveway. After a couple of days, I was able to get a larger table, and I love this. It's huge. I can have my sewing machine and my laptop and another sewing machine on there if I wanted to. And then after some time with some tweaking, I shifted how I had the room set up. However, several months later, someone gifted me this wonderful long arm quilting frame. So now I have a different setup in the room. Okay, here is the studio currently in the end of February of 2022, just to show you how I have it set up now. This is the wall where I have my mini quilts from other quilters. That center one right there is from my grandmother. And this is my large sewing table. I have plenty of room for my machine, my light. Here's my laptop. I have that there. I can watch YouTube while I'm working, also chatting with some of my quilting friends. I'm currently working on a project there on the table, and there's my coffee and my water. I always have water in here, and a little candle over there off to the right by my machine so that I can have it just give me a nice atmosphere. Below my sewing table, I have to the right there a pile of some quilts that I finished. Those are actually also creating a barrier of the cold that seeps in underneath. I have to still work on that with my garage door. On the left here under the table is my drawer of notions, and so threads, needles, pins, scissors, sewing feet, everything like that. Over here are my shelves. This shelf down here with all of the bins is my fabric. Most of these are the fabric that I use for quilts, but I have some other fabric off to the right end of that shelf. These tubs underneath here are also different kinds of fabric used for various things. The next shelf, my embroidery machine, some current projects that are going on, and I have a little TV over there so that I can also watch movies and be entertained. And then the top here, patterns down at the end there, clothing patterns, just my rulers, some bolts of fabric, some bins of notions, mending. Blah, don't like that one, but there it is. So this is the back wall. This is the door that goes into my husband's studio, and some quilt there that someone gave me. An antique dress form, which is currently holding an apron from a costume in my ironing. So then we turn. I have a regular iron, my old one that I can plug in, but I have this pretty fancy one down here, which is wireless, and I love that. But on this wall, this shelving, the top is holding my batting. That big roll up there is what I use for my quilts, but I've got some scraps of it. This middle shelf is mostly yarn. I've got a bunch of yarn there. A few boxes of things that need to be sorted. This other shelf down below, that is the part of my things that I own that need to be sorted through. Just bags of odds and ends and scraps and bins, and that will eventually be happening. In front of all of that is a treadle sewing machine. It does work. Right now, I need to get a new belt for it because the one that is currently on it is slipping. So I hope to do that. But this also is double duty because it holds my small ironing board so that I can just do quick pressing. And for the most part, it works just fine. When I need to iron large pieces of fabric, then I get that ironing board that's hiding behind my dress form. And then we move over to the front of my studio. You can see my wall there where I covered each of the panels with some fabric, except the windows, of course. The windows do have a film covering over there, so during the day, no one can see in. The only time they can is at night when I'm in here. The light is on and then people can see in, but I'm not too worried about it actually. This right here is my quilting frame, and it fits really well right there. Yeah, right now there is a quilt that's just kind of thrown on there. I had to take it off because I ran into some problems, had to rip out stitches, so it's just waiting until I have some time to work on that. Underneath here is my heater. Let me turn it on real quick so you can see that. Look at that. It's a little fireplace. I love that thing, and it heats up really well. It gives a real nice coziness in here, and it's made it so that I can actually stay in here all winter and work. I've done that throughout the winter. There are times where it starts to get too cold, and I just call it a day and work in doing handwork in the living room. So moving over here is the newest thing that I've got is this tray. What I realized is I didn't have a way to have current projects just stored somewhere so that I could work on them. So I have the 3 different shelves there, and those are current projects. The top one is for another customer. The middle is just ongoing projects for me, and then the bottom is also for a customer, but that one just doesn't have a deadline on it. And then this big panel here is actually some leftover foam that I had from insulation, and I've covered it with just a cheap flannel type fabric, and I use this as my design wall for when I'm doing quilting. It's not huge, so I can't do a big quilt on it, but it is very helpful for some of my other things where I just want to put up some blocks and see what they look like and keep track of things. And that is my sewing studio. Just so you can get the feeling, when I come in from the front, I ran into my dress form. When I come in through my door, I have this amount of room. Here's the floor space that I've got. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this process and looking into how I renovated the garage into my sewing studio and seeing how I have it set up and just what went into making this space into something that I can use, something that is usable for me. If you have any questions about something that I did or something that is set up or something that you saw, shoot me an email at sewitseamscreations@gmail.com, and I'll put the address down below so that you will see that. Or you can just put a comment on the video, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Okay, this has been Veronica Johnson from the Sew It Seams Studio, and remember, keep stitching.